Hey guys, Zane from the Infinite Jukebox here with another album review, and today I wanted to talk about the new Bruce Springsteen record, Only the Strong Survive. Only the Strong Survive is the latest studio album from legendary singer-slash-songwriter and rock musician Bruce Springsteen, someone who is interesting to look at in the current year of 2022, as it feels like he's a lot less praised by the music critic community than he was, say, 20, even 30 years ago, and honestly, I understand why. Look, Born in the USA is one of the most violently overplayed, overhyped hit rock songs of all time, and the synonymous album that it belongs to, although very good, has no right to be considered one of the great American exports of the history of American rock music. And honestly, besides that, his everyman blue-collar shtick wore thin by the 90s because, well, let's face it, by that point he was pretending to not be a multimillionaire that could totally still connect with the middle class and stuff like that. But, I mean, hey, he has some classics under his belt. Born the Run is a fantastic album, of course. Darkness on the Edge of Town demonstrates amazing narrative abilities, and Nebraska is one of the most heartfelt Americana albums ever put to record. So, he has his hits. He has a lot of misses, and mainly has been misses since, say, 1998, maybe? But still, my point still stands. He's done some great work over time, and he does deserve credit for his better moments. Unfortunately, Only the Strong Survive is actually among his worst moments. This is Bruce Springsteen covering a bunch of classic soul songs that influenced him in some way. That's literally it. It's a covers album. I don't want this. No one wants this. The only reason I'm listening to this is because A, I hate myself, and B, I wanted to review it for the channel. But besides that, this just feels so unnecessary right off the bat conceptually. Really, Only the Strong Survive is a major release for ride or die Springsteeners out there, but for anyone else who's, not totally obsessed with Springsteen in a cult-like fashion, then this is just a major skip, honestly. And to be honest, I can't even say this is essential for any major Springsteen fans out there, because even though I can understand why so many people flock around his music, even his more recent work, this just really doesn't have that many, if any, redeeming qualities. Now, first things first, I do want to say this is not Springsteen's first go-around with the concept of a covers album. Take a look at 2006's We Shall Overcome, the Seeger Sessions, where he helped take on a bunch of tracks from traditional folks, Pete Seeger, traditional folk songs from the American Civil War era. Honestly, it was fine. I'm getting bored just talking about it. It was a fine album, though, and it did give a modernized and somewhat modern, clean flair to a lot of traditional songs that hadn't really been done by too many major artists at that point in time in the mid-2000s. And, I mean, you know what? That's not my favorite album, but I understand why some people absolutely adore it. Unfortunately, Only the Strong Survive doesn't have any of the good qualities that We Shall Overcome had. Whether it's Springsteen covering the Commodores or the Four Tops, every single track here just makes me want to listen to the original that is much superior instead. And honestly, Springsteen and company never put their own original spin on either the major hits they're covering here or the deep cuts that they've dug up to take on, and that's about the worst thing a covers album can possibly do, feeling unoriginal and uninspired compared to the original tracks. The strangest part about it all is that it's very obvious that Springsteen himself has a lot of passion for these songs. I mean, he's always been influenced by soul, and he's just really nodding at his influences here for the most part, at least. And I don't listen to this record and say, oh wow, this guy's really cashing in on the potential financial opportunity of a cheap covers album. It doesn't feel like that. This feels like something he wanted to make. It's just that it's something that no one else wanted besides him. And it really does show through in the music itself, as nothing is done here to really change anything up from the original songs or compositions to make them uniquely Bruce's, and that results in an album that just feels incredibly boring, dry, and almost cancels out any passion or energy he may otherwise have on these tracks, and ultimately it just leads Only the Strong Will Survive kind of feeling like Bruce Springsteen singing his favorite soul songs in the shower. The production is also a major problem on Only the Strong Survive. The record was produced by Rob Aniello as well as Springsteen himself, and that doesn't necessarily seem like a bad thing. Two capable producers without a doubt, but unfortunately they tried to recapture the same romanticism that was found on the vast majority of the originals that they're covering here, and again, that doesn't sound like a bad idea necessarily, but they're done in such an overly polished and overly done way that it almost feels like the instrumentals and compositions on this record weren't produced by actual human beings. The reason that all of these sappy romantic string sections and backing vocalists worked on the original songs is that the vast majority of these songs were from the 60s, early 70s at the latest, and the thing with that is that there is a sense of rawness and emotional vulnerability at that point due to the production limitations of the time that has ultimately resulted in retrospect a sort of nostalgia for that sound and that time period, a time period that most avid music fans such as myself were not even alive for. But on Only the Strong Survive, it just feels like a very watered down substitute for that sound that causes this record to feel like a shiny husk of the majority of the songs that's attempting and doing poorly to cover. So overall, this is just Bruce Springsteen doing some weak, unimaginative, and at times, frankly, annoying covers of some classic soul songs. And if you are interested in soul as a genre and haven't really explored it very much, check out the originals that he covers here, especially stuff like Seven Rooms of Gloom by the Four Tops. There are some great songs that he just absolutely trashes here to an unbelievable extent, and I'm left thinking, hey, at least this isn't as bad as Glenn Danzig covering Elvis a few years back, I guess, almost. This album still sucks horribly, but I mean, it could have been a lot worse. That being said, still not good. I'm going to give this record 1.5 stars out of 5. With that being said, that's the end of this review. I've been Zane from the Infinite Jukebox. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.